All right, we will reconvene into open session at 5:59 p.m. And there's nothing to report on. There's no action taken in closed session. And so we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we will move on to item number 5, comments and announcements by board members. Sandra, do you have any comments or announcements?
I do, but I'd like to piggyback on Janet's comments when we get to that point.
Okay. Jessica.
Something lighthearted. Would you like to hear? Just as an involvement in the community, I took the kids downtown for a little special treat at a coffee shop, and a wonderful lady came up, a complete stranger, and paid for our sweets. And my kids were very surprised and grateful, and we left as friends. And her name is Peggy, and she's from the Butte County Historical Society. And so I wanted to say thank you to her. And then also as a reminder to everybody that we have a Butte County Historical Society and that it's a great resource and a great place to visit and find out more about our beautiful town.
Thank you. Lisa.
So the African Cultural Center, they put on an event for Black History Month at Southside Community Center. They had entertainment. They had a song from Number One Church of God in Christ, which is where we go. The kids sang. They had a speech from Dr. Martin Luther King that Dr. Collins's son did, and it was very impressive. He said he learned that thing. Shalene asked him, "How long did it take you to learn that speech? Because you did it so well." It only took him 2 days. And no paper in front of him, nothing. It was all by memory, and he did an excellent job. So we did have a good time, and it was very enlightening. Learned a couple things, so it was very nice.
I heard it was well attended. I saw some pictures. It looked like a fabulous event.
Yes, yes, it
Wonderful.
was.
Thank you for sharing. Bill, do you have any comments?
I have no
announcements?
comments at this time. Thank you.
I have nothing to report. So comments and announcements by administration. Dr. Holton.
Thank you. I know that Janet's going to cover the last 3 days of our visit with the DOJ, but I would like to share that I had the wonderful opportunity to visit a lot of our classrooms this week, and I just want to thank all of our staff, teachers, and support staff everywhere. We had a very productive visit, and our teachers are doing a great job with our instruction, and we continue to move forward with improving this district. And I'd like to thank everyone for their hard work and as part of this process, and especially my admin team, Janet, for spearheading our work in doing a better job meeting the needs and bringing equity and access for all of our kids. So thank you.
Janet.
All right. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Amy Hubbard for organizing a series of parent trainings that we're doing. So we just had one last night on suicide prevention. She was able to galvanize the whole counselor team to come and be there and help support parents as they hear about different things they can do for preventative strategies for their kids. And they have another parent meeting coming up on April 19th. That will be on school attendance, which is very critical because all the research shows that if you start to not attend school, you're very much at risk of dropping out. And so it's really dropout prevention. So she'll have that on April 19th. And then I want to talk about the DOJ visit. We've had the DOJ with us for the last 3 days. We did go to every school, and we did not get to visit every classroom, but we did make sure we got into every grade level and as many classrooms as we could at a school with time permitting. It was a great experience. We had a lot of great dialogue on the different things we observed and what we saw. And I concur with Dr. Holtum. The teachers did a great job. When we went in, we saw at every school site, there were some real positives of how they've made growth. And they did a really good job. And I also want to give a shout out to the principals too, because they've worked really hard at trying to get some of the changes made at their school sites. And this was a very last minute visit that was planned. And so it was a matter of quick scheduling changes so that we could accommodate what they wanted. But they were very complimentary of the classrooms and what they saw, and that each school demonstrated some strong skills in different areas. And what they thought was really nice is one school was really excelling in one area, another school was doing well in another. So the good thing is we have different schools for people to go visit and see so that we can learn from each other within our own community. So that was really positive. We also discussed professional development for next year, what the plans are, how we're moving forward. And even though they couldn't formally approve the plan, they were on board with what was presented to them today at the meeting. We do have, for announcements, we do have March 22nd to the 25th is a FPM review. That's a state and federal review. And so they come in, or this time it's going to be all virtual, but they go through, I'm going to say hundreds of documents, and it's us proving we're following all the rules and regulations that go with any of our state or federal programs. And so they will be here March 22nd to the 25th.
And I just want to mention that the
Oh.
FBM and the DOJ, they're very separate. This is the FBM is just an annual visit that we get every several years.
Yes, they have a cycle that they go on, and different schools are selected for that cycle. But I also wanted to mention with the DOJ visits that this morning, Sandra came and had an opportunity to observe our process. And what our goal originally was, is we have our monitor that came, and the goal was to go through and use this observation tool that they have had us implement, and for us to get consistent on how we do it, and to make sure that we all are seeing and identifying similar things. And so Sandra, do you have any comment in terms of your participation?
So getting up and being able to do this on my day off enforced two things in my own heart. Number one, I mean, the Department of Justice is obviously working very hard to make sure that our standards are at least equitable and towing the line of the very best education that we can give to our students. Due to COVID, we haven't had the opportunity to really engage with all the different groups and collaborate and, reinforce and support each other in this endeavor. And coming out just helped me to at least put a face on our board and to allow them to understand that, hey, we take a vested interest in what they're doing. By the same token, we appreciate their hard work in their capacity as well. I was extremely impressed by Miss Jessica. She was very, very knowledgeable, and who knew that they had an app for that too, for the whole classroom evaluation, which is very interesting. And so I took that information down. I'm going to look into that and explore the application, see what it's all about.
Cool.
That's really interesting.
Uh-huh.
The kiddos are doing incredibly well. I was so proud of each and every one of them. Very proud of all of the educators that have been working so hard all throughout the year. So yeah, it was a good experience. I'm really glad that I came out.
Good. All right. Thank you. Well, we appreciated having you there. And it was a good process for all of us to really have some dialogue and discuss what we were seeing, and giving us some next steps to work on.
Great. Thank you. Andrew.
Good evening, everybody. Two things I wanted to touch on. On February 17th, Dr. Holtum and I went to the advisory group for Southside, an invitation from the city. We went there kind of trying to hope to develop some stronger community partnerships. And we were honored to be invited, and we're very excited to collaborate with those different groups in looking at how we can, improve Southside Oroville, which I think is, in interest of all of us that live here in Oroville. The second thing, sort of a preview, but in our audit, we didn't get any exceptions for ASB for the first time since I've been here. ASB is extremely tricky. The auditors want something so specific, and it's, such a, you're asking very busy teachers to do this, accounting. So I just wanted to thank all the people that I've been working with ASB, and I have a short list. And if I miss anybody, then I'm sorry. But over the years, I've worked with Shauna Butler, Brianna Stanley, Laura Philbeck, Jenny Frazier, Jessica North, Brent Schneider, Patrick O'Brien, and John Betancourt, who've all been great. We have, an amazing ASB team. Just because they pick up an audit exception, that's pretty much the norm. It's easy for an auditor to go pick on those. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them. Great work. And I appreciate the hard work they put in every year.
Wonderful. Thank you. Kimberly.
Well, I'm very, very happy to be able to tell you that the contractor's application for new preschools has been opened. This is actually part of the universal pre-K movement that is coming out right now. And it's also in conjunction with the transitional kindergarten. So while we will need to put in an initial application by April 7th, there will be a lot of work that will need to happen between now and next September, October, whenever we're able to get it open. They would like us to try to have it up and running at the beginning of the next school year. It will also impact in the next few years transitional kindergarten, in that it will probably, a lot of the 4-year-olds would start attending transitional kindergarten, but not all of them will. So we'll have to account for that in our plan.
Can I ask a question, please, about that? Is universal pre-K, is that supported by our staff? And is there anything that shows that it's actually beneficial?
I'll let Dr. Holtum answer that.
I mean, it's just, I was talking with someone and someone was giving me information. I have no idea. I'm ignorant, so I have no idea if it's good information.
So what I'd like to do is, it's a very good question, and this is a state mandate, and so it is part of what we have to do. Now, what I would like to do, because it is very important, is ask him to put that as a discussion item for our next board meeting, so we can give you some more information, because we are currently finishing up our plan, because we have to apply for the application and the grant to get money to help support this. But we would like to give you a lot more information regarding this, because we're still gathering information, because this is something that's very new, but it's going to impact our district and our families quite a bit. And so next board meeting, we can give you a short presentation where we can have a more of an open dialogue about it.
Thank you, Dr. Holm. I'd just like to be educated on
But
what exactly.
yes, and it is mandated, though.
Well, that answers a lot of questions. Thank you.
All right. Now comments by the public. At this time, the board will extend an invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on matters which are school related. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak. Comments or questions may also be emailed to backpack@ocesd.net. Please include your first and last name in your email. Comments and questions received will be read into the record and are addressed during the meeting. However, comments received without the sender's name will not be shared during the meeting. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per subject. Do we have any emails in backpack?
No, we do not.
Okay, and any hands raised online?
No.
Anyone in the audience like to say something? Okay, we'll move on to public hearing session. The independent auditor's report of Oroville City Elementary School District financials as of June 30th, 2021.
So this is our audit report for this year. It's an unmodified report, meaning that they felt that the finances were above board. Looking through the findings section, and there were no findings this year, which is rarely happens at a school district. The one challenge this year at the audit was because of all the CARES funds that flowed into the district. it bumped us into the, like kind of the next level up of scrutiny in an audit. So I had to spend a couple extra weeks with the auditors, going through some additional testing and things. So I'm very pleased that it's done, and I'm even more pleased that there are no findings.
Madam President, I'd like to personally thank Andrew for all his work with this, because I've never been in a district where we had no findings at an audit, and especially with the ASB piece. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam President, if I could add to, I would also like to thank Andrew and his team for that. That is I was so surprised when I read it today I read it over the weekend, of course, and then I was looking at it again today because we got some follow-up information on this, that I called Andrew to make sure that I hadn't missed something, because it was like, that is for a budget of this size. And to, not only is it an audit to make sure that our numbers are factual and things like that, but it's also to ensure we followed policies and board procedures and things like that. And we, it's a very good representation that our business department is doing a very good job for us. And I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate that. And to all the work from the ASBs too, that have to do their part to this. I mean, I'm glad to see that I don't know if we've achieved perfection, but we got pretty darn close. And I know Shaven and Associates are actually, they're very good auditors. And if there was something there, they would have pointed it out.
Yeah, I concur. I had to read through it at least 3 times. Use my squinty eyes.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, we'll move on to item number 7, action session, public comments on action items. The board will extend an invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on items that are listed on the agenda. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak. Comments may also be emailed to backpack@ocesd.net. Please include your first and your last name in the email. Comments received that pertain to items listed on the agenda will be read into record at this time. However, comments received without a sender's name will not be read. The Brown Act does not allow the governing board to discuss or take action on any item that is not on the posted agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per subject. Do we have any emails in backpack to be read?
No, we do not.
Okay. Any hands from online?
No,
from the
there are not.
virtual audience?
No.
Okay, and go ahead.
Okay. All right, good evening. My name is Shauna Butler, and tonight I'd just like to take a minute to represent OECA and just thank our teachers that are on the agenda for resignation, Kelsey, Ashley, and Jessica, for their hard work in our district and supporting our students. We're excited for them as they pursue new opportunities and wish them good luck. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item number 8, consent agenda.
Madam President, I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Could I add you too, with congratulations to those that are retiring and wishing
Absolutely.
them happiness, health, and whatever it is they're going to do,
Yes,
good luck to them.
wonderful. All right, so we will go ahead and vote to approve.
Did someone make a motion?
Yes.
I did.
Yes. We're doing a vote. Yeah. Well, we're all here, so we can do all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Sorry, let me get in order here. So that takes us to item number 9. Is that correct? Okay, new business to adopt the 2022-2023 school calendar. We received options A and B. Spencer, would you like to report on that?
Sure. The last couple of months, we have discussed both options A and B. One of the options has to do is the one with the February break, the 3rd week of February, where we have the whole week off. And that will require between $16,000 and $20,000 for additional transportation costs, or we can keep the calendar to where we, just like this year, where we had the Friday and Monday off for President's Week instead of that whole week off. And then in addition to that, a couple board meetings ago, we talked about keeping Christmas break, but changing or having the discussion about whether or not we want to have Easter break or change it to spring break. And so we would make a motion for a calendar that option that we approve with the option of whether they want to change spring break or keep it as Easter.
Okay. Do we have a motion for selection of calendar?
I don't have my thing up. I make a motion that we, how would I say this? I'm approving A or B, correct?
Yeah.
So I make a motion that we approve option A to omit the February break to coincide with Orville Union High School District. And additionally to, well, let's see. I'm really messing this up, aren't I?
You're
I
doing
have to
just
add
fine.
in this Easter thing, right?
Yes.
I want to keep it as Easter and Christmas. So that's, I don't know how
May I
I would
ask
say
a
that.
clarifying question? To omit to coincide with, does that mean you want to have the break or you don't want to have the break?
I do not want to have the break. So
Okay.
to go hand in hand with Orville High
Okay.
School and omit the break in from option B.
And-
But
and-
to
and just
keep
for-
the name Easter
Yeah.
break on the calendar.
And just for clarification, let the board know that option A is to keep the calendar like we had it this year, and it would not cost any additional transportation costs to the district.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table to adopt calendar A with no February break and to keep Easter recess as the name. Is there a second? Okay, discussion.
There you go.
Okay, I second.
Any discussion from the board? Okay, well, it's a hard decision on giving up that February break. I know how important it is to so many people, but the expense is so big that it makes it very difficult to accept an additional midwinter recess. I would like to advocate for changing the name from Easter recess, though, to spring break. That's generally accepted across the country. Most school districts call it a spring break. It's not something unusual. It is typically called spring break at this point, and I feel like it's would be more respectful to all of our families so that it doesn't limit people that don't celebrate Easter.
When is Easter next year? Does that fall on that? Oh, it does, huh?
So can I ask a question? So let's say the high school district, they change it to where is this, would if they change theirs, can we change ours at that time? If they, let's say, want the extra week?
So the answer is yes. We could amend this at any time. They have set and board approved their calendar for next year already.
Okay.
So it's highly unlikely that they'd make any changes, but
Right.
if they did, and they went to the week vacation, we could amend it at that time.
Okay.
But if they were to do that, it would they would do it on a year by year basis, and not make a last second change to that.
No, I'm just making sure that we could be able to.
Yes, yes, we could, absolutely.
later on in time. Okay.
Dr. Holtum, could you possibly also have a conversation with Dr. Willenberg that, would be our desire that if, as they lay out their calendar for the following year, if they would consider that, because we would like to also consider that and include that as part of our schedule if they possibly can.
Thank you. We've already started that conversation already and shared with them our desire, and we'll, moving forward with our contract with them, we will have that conversation again.
Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion?
I think that we're probably going to have some further discord about the whole Easter thing, so I am interested in separating the two decisions.
I'm not personally, at some point we have to make a decision. They have to get a calendar out. I mean, so-
Absolutely, I completely agree. Do we have any recommendations as far as this? Because I completely agree. I think Easter should be removed in favor for those of in our community who don't have Easter on their list of religious holidays, make it more equitable for everyone.
In light of our DOJ visit, it seems like it would align with that very well.
I understand what you're saying, but I haven't heard no large cry from the community to do that.
I don't think we need to
and I
have a
think
large
there-
cry from the
Well, but I
community.
also believe there's a part of the community that does celebrate that. And so we're
Yeah.
pushing that aside because we're concerned about how somebody else might feel about that. I mean, that's just, I understand what you're saying, and I can't say as though I disagree with everything that is included in that, but I think we're rushing to a change that nobody's really asked for other than us. I mean, so I don't know if now is the time or,
I think it's-
respectfully, I mean.
As leaders in our community, it's important for us to lead the way for things that we believe are right and that are equitable and just for all of our families. And I don't see it as pushing something aside. It's let's just not name it that so that you can call it what you would like.
But also whatever's not fixed shouldn't, if it's not broken, it shouldn't be fixed. No one's asked to change it.
I'm asking to change it.
I mean, if we want to open this up, then why don't we change Thanksgiving break, that name as well?
Thanksgiving's not a religious holiday.
Well, I don't celebrate it.
Oh.
I'm saying like, I can agree
eat.
with what Bill is saying is that like, there's not a huge call out for this, and call it what you want to call it, no matter what's on the paper from the school, call it spring break.
But when we list it on our calendar as a district, as Easter break, we're advocating for that religious holiday. And I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right for Christmas either, but I'm willing to let that one go. And I think Easter is more prominently a Christian holiday. And not all of our families and students celebrate that. But everyone recognizes a spring break.
I agree with what you're saying. It is primarily a Christian holiday, but it's not celebrated that way in this country. It's I don't think the Easter bunny has anything to do with the resurrection of Christ. And that seems to be the biggest thing about Easter, because people are Easter egg hunting and doing all of those things. So it's not, I understand what you're saying and I get that, and it's been kind of so, I'm just not comfortable at this time with making a change that, the only ones that are asking for it would be us up here. I mean, nobody's come to this podium. Nobody's asked for any change in this. And then I'm also concerned as well that we're concerned about how somebody might feel, but we're not concerned about the people that are currently celebrating it that way and want to call it that. I mean, and want to recognize that in that way. I mean, I think is of a value for those individuals as well. And I guess the point is that no matter what we do, no matter whether we go right or we go left, somebody's feelings are going to be hurt. Somebody could be offended. And I just, as I think about it, unless we have something where somebody is, or it's jeopardizing something, or it's upsetting somebody, or doing something, I just don't really want to start making changes like that at this point. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Whatever the board decides, that's what I will, fall into line.
Any other comments? All right, we'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion to accept calendar item A with no February midwinter break, keeping it with Easter recess. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I oppose.
Abstain.
Motion carries. All right, item B, approve the 2022-23 comprehensive safety plan.
Spencer. Patrick O'Brien was going to be here this evening to talk to you about this, but he's had a death in his family, so I'm going to take over for him. The comprehensive safety plan we update annually. We have a agency called School Innovations and Achievement that reviews our safety plan and gives us recommendations of things that need to be changed and updated. So it's fully in compliance with all of the tapestry of laws that are required for your safety plan. After the review, there was only one of the 15 components that needed to be updated. The safety plan has been updated with the one change where it was just adding some verbiage, very, very minor, nothing that changed the meaning of anything. It's just that the discrimination policy didn't have the word discrimination in one part. So that was added. The board names of the board members has been updated. And the table numbers, the numbering on the different tables has been updated. So it's very minuscule changes to the safety plan this year. And again, it was reviewed by School Innovations and Achievement, who, gave it a pretty good blessing. And unfortunately, Patrick wasn't here to give you that information, but I appreciate his hard work on this. It's something that Patrick's been doing for a number of years, having the safety committee, and I appreciate it very much.
All right, any discussion, questions from the board? Okay, thank you. So do we need to act on that?
We do.
We do, okay. So is there a motion on the table to adopt and approve the revised, oh no, wait, I'm on the wrong one. Accept the comprehensive safety plan as presented.
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay, item number C, adopt revised board policies and approve revised administrative regulations.
So last year, we did a lot of revisions with our board policies with the DOJ in concert with how they wanted things framed and said. In the meantime, there were changes in the UCP that have not been reflected in the policy that we worked on with the DOJ because it happened after we began our process. We right now are heading into the FPM in a couple of weeks, and they do want all of the latest language in the documents. So we've been working with the DOJ at getting that in alignment with the new verbiage that they have. However, we have one problem, and then that is in AR 1312.3. The very last page inadvertently had not been sent to the DOJ for their approval. And they are going to want to make some changes in order to approve it. But we have FPM that comes up next week, the week after, and we need to have this approved for the FPM. So this meets the standards of the FPM. So tonight, I'm going to be asking you for approval for all of these changes. And then next month or the month after, I will be coming back with one last change with this last page. Any changes the DOJ wants to have that has to do with the preschool language. So tonight I am asking for approval so that we do meet all of our state requirements, and then we'll deal with the other later. Okay?
Okay. Any questions or discussion from the board? Okay, is there a motion to approve the revised board policies and regulations as presented?
So moved.
No second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think it all looks good. Is there, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will move on to item 10, business and finance, to accept the auditor's 2020-21 financial report for Oroville City Elementary School District.
So this is the audit we discussed earlier. I did want to say, as Bill was alluding to, there's a lot of people, not just me in my office, that had to do a really good job this last year in order for this audit to come through smoothly. It comes down to everybody in the entire district was doing the things they needed to do. So I appreciate all of the contributions all across the district for this audit.
Any questions or discussion? All right.
For your hard work.
Is there a motion to approve the independent audit?
Madam President, I make a motion, we accept the auditor's 2021 financial report.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay, item 10B, approve 2021-22 second interim budget adjustments.
All right. I'm here to present the 21-22 second interim budget. I'm going to kind of quickly go through the slides I've prepared today. I will say in summary, to kind of give you a sense of what's going on, the second interim budget is an update of the first interim budget. The second interim budget this time has very few changes from the first interim budget. It's fairly much the same. There are a few changes that I'll highlight, but a second interim budget is just, like I said, an update. Has some of the pieces of the governor's proposed budget that I can put in the budget, but not all of it. Because not all of it is. Some of it's kind of vague. So I'm going to take you through what we've got. Some of the main features: we had a sharp decline in attendance percentage, and that's what I'm going to be talking about mostly tonight. Some new program transfers to other LEAs, and updated the future budget items. And just like first interim, we're still in a pattern of deficit spending that's going to require some significant cuts in the future. So attendance percentage decline. This is nothing I've talked to you about before. Attendance percentage, I give an example, is if you had one student who attended for 100 days but missed 5 days of school, their attendance percentage would be 95% because they showed up 95% of the time. We use that attendance percentage when you're calculating ADA. So if you took the attendance percentage for all the students for the whole year, that's how you get to your ADA, which it shows up in the form of a decimal instead of a percentage. So it'd be 0.95. Yeah, Sandra?
How many the 180 days?
The school year is 180 days, but the actual attendance year varies from year to year. It's based on P2, which is a marking period 2/3 of the way through the year, and that's what they use to fund. So it could be 120 days to 100, it depends on how many school months you have. So I was just giving you an example, a hypothetical example, so you kind of get conceptually.
When 180
Don't worry about
days,
the 100. Don't worry about the 100 days.
that doesn't make 95%.
That's 100 days there.
Yeah.
So conceptually, you understand it's how many of the days you're enrolled, how many days you show up. Typically for Oroville City Elementary School District, through as long as I've been here, it's been around 93%. Okay, so when we looked at the number of enrolled students and the number of days they attended, it's about 93% of the time those kids are there. Unfortunately, this last year, that number dropped from 93% to 86%, which is a 7% drop, which is a 7% drop in ADA on top of what's going on with enrollment. So that's pretty concerning. It's a large number. It's equivalent to a 7% drop in enrollment on top of our enrollment drop. So why did that happen? It looks like the COVID-19 situation created a situation where students go into quarantine. And when they go into quarantine, they're presented with the opportunity to do short-term independent study for those days of work, or they can be marked absent. So it's you have students who aren't necessarily participating in short-term independent study while on quarantine. And because they're not participating, they're having a lot more absences than in a normal year. A lot more, right? To where we're down 7%. So still, students still are participating in short-term independent study. Our staff are still providing short-term independent study. It's just that situation has caused a drop for us in our attendance percentage.
Andrew, is there any way that we could go back and set a board policy to look backwards? I don't know if this is legal or not, and say if you were on quarantine, it's been verified that you either had COVID or you were quarantined because of COVID. Those are actually days that you were present. If we set a board policy for that, regardless of the independent study component.
I don't think there's a way for us to go back and collect it. And part of the other part of this whole situation is when we had things like school closures because of quarantine or school closures for any reason in the past, we were able to fill out what's called a J13, which let us keep the ADA for those days because the school was closed down. It was beyond our control. But this year for COVID, they won't let you do a J13. They said, no, it's going to be better if we force you to do short-term independent study, and we're reaping the rich rewards of that decision. Yeah.
So I will share, and maybe this isn't
I have another slide though.
You have another slide?
Yeah,
Okay.
just let me get me through it. So kind of the outlook across the state, this is at all the districts between 3% and 9%. Districts are seeing that type of drop in attendance percentage across the district. I do think that this is a 1-year deal. I think that next year we'll be back to our 93%, like we were for all the years before that, or somewhere around there. But it is a one-time loss in revenue. When you think about 7% of our kids losing 7% of our ADAs, it's pretty hard to swallow. But again, this is a common problem. We've all of our advocacy groups like CSBA and talking to School Services of California, we've talked to them about, hey, is the governor going to do something to kind of help with that? And he does have a proposal in his budget where he's looking at using a 3-year average for ADA for prior year instead of just your prior year, which would help solve that problem. It's just, as of right now, that's very speculative if that's going to happen or not. And of course, the proposal he gave didn't even, you couldn't put it to math because you didn't really know what that meant. So attendance percentage decline was one of the topics that are new to you. Hopefully we won't discuss again, except for next year. We'll talk about, hey, remember when we had an attendance percentage decline? Now we're back. That's my hope for this issue. And again, it's nothing that's unique to Orville Elementary. We're right in the middle of what districts are experiencing statewide.
And I was going to share, and Andrew and I, of course, have talked about this at great length. I saw a figure yesterday that some of the larger districts in California experienced about an 8.5% decrease, which bodes well for us because those are the ones that are going to put the most pressure on the governor to ensure that there's a remedy so that all of us in California, as far as school districts, don't take this big cut.
So another new issue for this budget, we have 2 program transfers, 2 major programs that are transferring to other school districts in Oroville. First, and this is something that the board will have to approve, but our special education transportation program moving to Oroville High School. Currently, Oroville High School operates our general ed transportation, which is probably 80% of our transportation system. And this is moving over the last little bit that we've held on to and moving that into the high school. So there's still some things to suss out in this. But it would mean all of our transportation staff and vehicles would now belong to the high school. They would operate all those same routes for all the kiddos. And they would just bill us back for it. And if you think about it conceptually, you can see how that could reduce overhead. You have the same number of CHP terminal inspections, whether you have a giant transportation department or you have a tiny one. So there are a lot of things that we do that are redundant. And this was part of when we had the PTI came in and did that transportation study. This was something that they thought was a good synergy, a good item that would help our transportation system be more efficient and more effective and better for students and staff. We have been working very hard with CSCA to make sure that all of our staff are going to be able to find opportunities to be made whole at Orville High School. And I believe we're pretty much there. So it feels like it's going to be a successful venture for us. The other one is that one of the preschool units at Sierra del Oro Preschool is going to be moving to Thermalito Union Elementary School District. Those are governed by the SELPA. They put in the appropriate paperwork at the appropriate time to have a unit transferred to them. So that will mean that the staff of one of our preschool, special ed preschool program classes is going to move. They're all going to go to Thermalito and be housed over there. And additionally, Thermalito is our biggest customer at Sierra del Oro. We have a lot of their kids that attend there. So I think it made sense for them to just serve them themselves. And then we can, we just have one less class. It is, when you look at it fiscally, it is a decrease in overall, it's a net loss because you're losing some of your economy of scale where you can sort of spread out some of the costs as you have a larger program. But we're hopeful that as we open a state preschool there, which this will now open up another classroom for state preschool as well, that will help offset, if not fully offset, that loss. And then governor's proposals. These are a couple that I didn't include in the budget that I wanted to hit on because there are going to be hot topics. The first was that 3-year average ADA calculation. I put that in my letter to you as well. If that's going to take place, I see that as maybe a 1-year type of a program, but it would net us about $1.5 million. If it works the way I estimated it would. But again, there's no actual math yet, so I would sort of have to make it up. Then also the implementation of universal transitional kindergarten. Talked about that earlier. Basically, it means you're going to have kindergartners or transitional kindergartners that are going to be on our campuses down to 3 years old. So that's going to increase the number of students on our campuses and change the landscape of public schools in California as you know it, because it's effectively a preschool program called Universal Transitional Kindergarten. The plan now is to phase it in over a number of years and kind of ratchet the ages down. The challenges for us are going to be making sure we have appropriate facilities to house all these students. And it's going to be it's very nebulous as to how many students are actually going to come and take part in Universal Transitional Kindergarten at our different school sites. We estimate that Ophir will probably have a large group of people that want to do it, but I'm not sure about other sites. So now into the multi-year projection. I always talk about the multi-year projection because that's really the budget. It's in your packet, page 51 and 57 is my version of it with the assumptions. We still have that ADA hold harmless for this year, but next year is the cliff year, and it's made worse by the drop in attendance percentage. So next year, our LCFF revenues drop by $2.7 million, which is a sizable cliff to fall off of when you're talking about your main source of revenue. We do have a budget surplus in this year due to the hold harmless this year because we're still able to use the 1920 ADA, but you'll see that we have some systemic deficit spending, almost 2 million in year 2 and about 2.2 million in year 3. So we see we have about a $2 million problem that we need to figure out how to right that, how to get revenues up, expenses down to correct that problem long term. Restricted balances, if you're looking at the restricted side of the budget, which I don't talk about too much because it's sort of self-correcting, but there is a large deficit in year 2 and year 3. And that has to do with a lot of that CARES money was front-loaded. But our plans and most people's plans to spend that money is over a course of years because they've given you years to spend it. So you'll see the revenue all come in at once, and then deficit spending will occur because you're not receiving the revenue in the year that you're spending it. Ending balance, we're able to meet our reserves in all 3 years, but our reserves are dwindling quickly as you spend, $2 million a year out of your reserves for deficit spending. And really, that's when we look at our reserves, what is happening to them is that deficit spending just is going to chew it right up. Again, on deficit spending, we're deficit spending $2 million a year starting next year. And again, it's mostly attributed to our sharply declining ADA. We've had a 2% decline, but we're starting to really lose ADA at a more rapid pace due to COVID and some of the other situations that have happened in our community. So we're trying to conserve money to try to build our reserves as much as we can to weather the storm. And we're also working very hard on trying to find ways to draw students into our district. I think we all believe we have wonderful programs that we offer. And we need to let those shine and get people to come and let us serve their students. Any questions about the second interim budget? No. Okay.
Well, I guess we're good. Thank you, Andrew. So we need to have a motion to approve the second interim budget adjustments.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor for approving the interim budget adjustments? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you, Andrew.
And now we have approved 2021-22 second interim financial report.
So I can start the slideshow over, or we can just, it's the same thing. It's just that the way it has to be approved is in compliance with the way the state wants it done.
So we need a motion on the floor to approve the second interim financial report as presented.
So moved.
For a second?
I'll second. Lisa's first.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay, item D is to accept bids for pickup area pavement improvement project at Ophir School.
So this is the project we're using developer fee funds for, where we're going to pave that new pickup area that's currently gravel at Ophir that kind of goes past the main buildings. So these are the bids. And as you'll see, when we get to the next item, we awarded it to the low bidder, as is generally our obligation.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor to accept the bids for the pickup area pavement improvement project at Ophir?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. And now we will award the contract for the pickup area pavement improvement project at Ophir School.
Right. So All American Construction was the low bidder, and that's who we recommend the contract go to.
There a motion on the floor to award the contract for the pickup area pavement improvement project.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay, item F is to accept bids for roofing projects at Oakdale and Stanford.
So these are some much needed roofing projects. This isn't a complete roof renovation or anything, but these are some work we need done at both sites. If you look at the bids, there is a base bid and an alternate bid. The alternate bid is some additional work that will help us down the road. So we're looking at our budgets, trying to figure out, do we want to do the alternate bid or not? But that gives us those options in this bid structure. So we'll definitely do the base bid part. And then the alternate bid, we have to look and see if that's something that we want to do. The funds for this come out of our proceeds from our other facility projects. So it's going to come out of like the money we receive from Bird Street.
You said that it's not a full roofing project, but will it be
It's not
sufficient to?
Yeah, it would be sufficient. And then the alternate bid would be more replacement and larger buildup. So I don't have all the specific details on that part of it. But I know that the base bid pieces are things that need to be done to prevent current leak situations, and the rest would be doing more of the roof. And again, okay, that's it, I guess, so for that part.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion on the floor to accept bids for roofing projects at Oakdale and Stanford?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. And then we will move on to awarding the contracts for the roofing projects at Oakdale and Stanford.
So like the last one, we're obliged to select the low price bidder. So that's United Building Contractors on both. So we recommend that the board approve United Building Contractors for this contract.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If we are not necessarily doing the alternate, is United still the cheapest, or is the local, and do we have local preference? I really would love to use local contractors, meaning from our city or our town.
We definitely include in the bidding all of our local contractors. So, we definitely contact all them. I don't know that we can give local preference when it comes to if they don't outbid the others. When we look at the base bids, United Building would be the low bid, just if they did the base bid or if they did both.
And why are they so much cheaper on the alternate bid than the other? They seem like they're underbidding that. And is there contingency built into this? And there's a hope that maybe we're going to run up a 20% contingency and make up the difference. I mean, we can't speak to what and I'm not implying that they're doing anything wrong. I'm just wondering why is there such a discrepancy?
I couldn't speak to why there's such a discrepancy. I will say sometimes contractors are more or less motivated to get a job. And sometimes they bid higher or lower depending on how motivated they are to get a specific job. I can't speak to specifically why United Building Contractors thought it would be $15,000 less than the other two to do the additional work, but that's what they estimated.
It just worries me when there's that big of a difference. Usually they're pretty close. I mean,
Right.
but this is a considerable difference.
And it could just be a motivated bidder as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I will entertain a motion on awarding the contracts for roofing projects, Oakdale and Stanford.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Any abstain? Motion carries. All right, and so we're at item 11, adjournment. A meeting is adjourned at 6:57. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.